In my review video of the OnePlus 8, I said, in true OnePlus fashion, the cameras on the 8 just aren't that great. And I think that's a little misleading. Saying the cameras aren't great sort of kind of implies I think they're bad, and they're not. Okay, maybe the 2 megapixel macro camera is pretty bad, but other than that, the other 3 cameras on the OnePlus 8 aren't bad at all. They're actually pretty good in a lot of scenarios, and I'm gonna spend the next 5 minutes proving that to you. I'd make a longer video, but it's almost lunchtime, and I didn't eat breakfast. So just a quick refresher, the OnePlus 8 has 4 cameras in total. On the back of the phone sits a vertical camera array, which, yes, does protrude from the phone and will rock side to side on a table if you don't have a case on it. In this array, there's a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle camera at the top, a 48 megapixel wide angle camera in the middle, and then there's a 2 megapixel lens at the bottom. There's also a dual LED flash underneath. The ultra wide angle camera can shoot up to 4K in 30 FPS, while the wide angle camera can shoot the full 4K 60. The macro camera can't shoot video at all, and at 2 megapixels, why would you ever want it to? On the front of the OnePlus 8, there's a 16 megapixel hole punch selfie camera that can only do 1080p 30 FPS video recording, but the video from it isn't actually all that bad, which we'll talk about in a bit. First though, let's get into some photo samples. For the most part, I like the colors and the sharpness of the photos that come from this phone. Portrait mode works great from the main camera as long as you switch it off the default 2x crop, and the dynamic range of most photos is good. But these cameras do have some strange quirks. For instance, colors between the main camera and the ultra-wide camera aren't consistent. The wide-angle camera has more of a natural, warm color profile, whereas the ultra-wide tends to bias heavily into the cool blues. The ultra-wide also isn't nearly as sharp as the wide-angle, which becomes especially apparent in close-up shots. Shots from far away are fine though, and they actually pair quite nicely together. Another strange quirk is that all photos coming out of this wide-angle camera default to 12 megapixels, even though it is a 48 megapixel sensor. When you tap on the 12 megapixel button, it switches into the 48 megapixel mode and claims to offer higher resolution for well-lit scenes. When you switch back, it says the 12 megapixel mode is for higher dynamic range, and that's what's recommended. I actually agree with OnePlus on this one. In all of my testing, I found that the 48 megapixel mode consistently produces sharper images, slightly anyway, but with a pretty significant drop off in dynamic range. You can see the difference easily in this photo if you look at the shadows in the plant. As I mentioned in my previous video about the OnePlus 8, the 2 megapixel macro camera it's just bad, and I got that one right. There's no way around it. If you use the 48 megapixel 2x crop, you'll actually get better macro shots than if you use the dedicated macro lens. I'm pretty sure the only reason that it exists on this phone is so that OnePlus can claim that they have a triple camera on the back of this phone. OnePlus's dedicated night mode called Nightscape does an excellent job though. In this picture, I actually couldn't see that there was a buildup of dust all over the table with the naked eye, and it was only until I switched it into the Nightscape mode that I could see it. Night modes are really blowing me away lately. It's one of my favorite features on modern smartphones. The OnePlus 8 also comes with a dedicated Pro mode equipped with RAW capabilities and even a histogram straight out of the default camera app. I love this mode. It's got a lot of cool features, but OnePlus, please, for the love of everything that is good in this world, stick a video recording button right next to that photo capture button, because the fact that I can't use this mode for video makes me very, very sad. The biggest disadvantage for these cameras for both photos and video, which you're going to see in just a bit, is actually the image processing that goes on inside the software. I find that photos come out a little too underexposed and contrasty, and in some cases, too desaturated. Look at this. This is an okay photo overall, but do you see all this white down here towards the bottom of the waveform? That means that the photo is underexposed. And if we just take all that white and move it up a slight bit, look how much better this photo looks. This is actually good news. It means that OnePlus can continue to refine their image processing algorithms, and then the cameras may get much better over time. Photos from the front-facing camera tend to be a bit better. Generally speaking, I don't have much to complain about any of these selfies, other than the fact that I had to take them. The portrait mode works great, and none of the aforementioned exposure issues creep their way into any of these photos. And that brings us to video. Roll the clips. The OnePlus 8's video resolution does cap out at 1080p 30 FPS. However, the microphones are pretty good, and the dynamic range seems to be pretty good as well. So, thumbs up for that, OnePlus.
Wait.
What? Wow, thanks. Thanks for that. Now, if you are absolutely bonkers about video quality like I am, you can flip the camera around or flip the phone around and use the rear-facing cameras to get full 4K 30 or 60 FPS with the wide-angle camera. I think the videos that come out of this phone are a bit weaker in terms of quality than the photos are. Dynamic range and stabilization seem to both be excellent, but the video does have some strange artifacting and compression issues. And again, videos tend to err on the side of underexposure and desaturation like the photos. As long as you're shooting 4K at 30 FPS, you can switch between the ultra-wide and wide-angle cameras while you're recording. There's no doubt that the video can be good, but more often than not, I just run into some image processing issues that lead to less than ideal video quality. I expect that OnePlus will be updating their software to improve image processing in the coming months, and honestly, I'm excited to see how far they can push the cameras in this phone to get better images overall. For now though, I can say that the cameras in their current state are good, but not flagship good. Again, the whole reason why I made this video is because I felt I was speaking a little bit unfairly about the cameras in my full review, but I feel much better now that I rambled a bit and hopefully cleared some things up for you. Again, I'll be posting some more samples as well as some observations that I make about this phone as I continue to use it on my Instagram and Twitter, and I'll leave links for those down in the description down below if you're interested. Hey, I actually made good time. Time for me to go eat because I'm starving, and time for you to hit that like button if you like this video and subscribe to support my channel. And as always, have a great day.